Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about how to AWP in CS2. It's another video of my raw series, but I'm going to do it in a different way compared to the other videos. First I'm going to talk about city side, and then I'm going to talk about T side. In city side we're going to talk about going for openings, positioning, rotations and setups. About T side we're going to talk about again going for openings, holding angles, executes and things like this, and how to support your teammates as well. And then at the end I'm going to give you some tips on how to practice with the AWP and how to improve with it. So watch the entire video in order to become the best AWPer you can be. So the first thing that I want to talk about on city side might actually surprise you, because it's going to be rifling. As an AWPer, you're not always going to have the AWP. That should be obvious, but some players don't really understand this concept. In a normal game, you're going to have the AWP, let's say, about 50% of the rounds, if even that, because you cannot always afford the AWP, you're not always going to have money for it. Sometimes you're going to buy the AWP, you're going to have 1 or 2 rounds with it, and then you're going to die. And then you cannot get an AWP, let's say. Some rounds you're going to be on Nico, and then the next round you have money for an M4, and you cannot really play with a Deagle while your team has a buy, so you have to buy again an M4 as your teammates, so that you can play the round as efficiently as you can. So your rifling and also your SMGs have to be on point, because if you are going to have the AWP, let's say 5 rounds in the half, then the other rounds you're going to be useless if you're bad with rifles and with SMGs, pistols, whatever. So you have to have really good rifling as well. You're not going to only rely on your AWPing, you're going to also have good rifling. And let's say when you know that the enemies are on a Nico, you can buy an MP9. Let's say you died the previous round, and this round you have to buy, and you know that the enemies are on a Nico, and you have, let's say, I don't know, even if you have 4000, you can buy armor, you can buy an MP9, and you can just farm the enemies, because with SMG obviously you're going to get more money per kill, so in that way you're going to get more money, and it's going to be easier for you to buy an AWP in the next rounds. So now when we have that out of the way, let's start with the actual AWPing part. The first thing that I want to talk about with the AWPing is going for openings. This is something that's going to be very important, because you have a very strong gun that is very good at getting openings, because all you need to do is hit the enemy once in the body and they're going to be dead. It sounds simple, it's in reality a little bit more difficult, but when you go for openings, sometimes the enemies are not going to expect it and they're not going to be prepared for it, and it's going to be an easy kill. Like, let's say if you have a good spawn for a mid, there are multiple different things you can do. You can, let's say, jump out of window and go towards the bottom cone. You can jump out better, not further movement, and then you can hold an angle like this from bottom cone. You can jump on short if you're able to do the jump. You can get boosted into ladder and peek from short. If you have a spawn more towards A, then you can jump into powers from the boxes and get an angle like this and just hold for a bit. There are multiple different things that you can do in order to get an openings, and that's going to be very impactful, and it's going to help your team a lot when you get an opening, because it's basically a 4v5 advantage, and then you can just play to the advantage, and it's going to be way easier to play on the city side when the enemies are 4, because their side hits are going to be weaker, they're going to have less utility to work with. It's going to be in general easier for you to play, obviously, when the enemies are with 1 person less, and it's usually going to be easier to do with the AWP, to get an opening with the AWP, than to get an opening with a rifle. Again, because you need to hit them once in the body, and then you can just run away. And with the rifle you might need to spray them, and then the second guy might peek quickly and you might get traded to whatever. So the AWP generally is going to be easier, but you also need to have a fallback route, obviously. So like, let's say if you kill one guy from here, you're not going to go out like this and then the second guy peeks you and trades you. You're going to get the kill and then fall back. And here in powers you're going to get the kill and then jump out instantly, and your teammate is obviously going to be holding ramp so that nobody gets out of ramp and stuff. So it's important to go for these opening picks, and you can also have some little tricks, like let's say you can nade the window smoke in the beginning of the round, and that can get you an opening, so you don't really have to go for something where you push somewhere. But in general, you need to make some plays with the AWP. So you have to go for the plays, you have to not be scared, because if you are scared and you never go for them, you are not doing yourself any favors. And what you can do that's going to help you a lot is just make a list of all of the openings that you are comfortable of going for on all of the maps, and then just when you get into a game, try to go for some of them that you think are going to work and you think that are going to be good in the context of this game, and just do it, and you're going to see that it's going to help your team and help your individual level a lot when you go for these things. The next thing that I want to talk about is positioning. Positioning is going to be very important as an AWPer. You want to be at the place where the enemies are going to be, and you want to be at an angle where it's as advantageous as possible and you have a fallback route. So I briefly mentioned fallback route on the opening picks, but in the mid round you always have to know what is your next move. So let's say you're playing here from ticket on an angle like this, holding ramp, and you get a kill. You need to know what is your next move. Is your next move to hold powers? Do you have a teammate on top of the balcony so you don't need to, and then maybe you're going to jump once, and if there's nobody else you keep holding the angle? What do you do if they molly you? What do you do if you're holding and they flash you? Do you just go back? Do you after that throw some kind of utility? How do you help your teammate because maybe they're running out ramp and he's on top of the balcony? When do you repeat? Do you repeat at all? You have to have these things in mind, and you have to have fallback routes. Let's say here on ups, if you're holding an angle like this and you get the first kill, you need to know where you're going to go after that. You're going to go here, let's say. You're going to get a kill like that. You go here after that, you get a kill there. You have to know exactly where you're going to go after every shot. Even if you don't hit the shot, you still have to fall back and take the next shot. So you have to think of the route that you're going to go after every single shot, so that you don't get caught off guard at some point and just die in a way that is, you know, weird. The other very important thing about AWPing is rotations. Rotations are going to be something that is going to make such a huge difference. If you have good rotations, it is instantly going to become easier for your team to play. Let's say you start at window and you shoot, and the enemies know that you are in window. They might think you have a fast rotation towards jungle, but actually you went towards B really quickly, and let's say you took a line in ups, and now your B player can go towards A or whatever, or your short player can go towards A, somebody can go towards A, and you are here. Your enemies heard you shoot on window, and now you are on B ups. And they thought, okay, let's go towards B because he's in window, he can help A a bit quicker, maybe he's gonna go ticket or whatever. And you are in ups, and they don't expect you, and they peek like they're peeking versus a rifle, so you get the kill, you do your fallback route, whatever it is, you do your moves, you get the kills, you know the enemies don't expect you. Or let's say instead you go over towards ticket and you hold some kind of an angle here, and then if there's some kind of information towards B, you rotate really quickly, you throw some kind of support utility, so let's say you throw a flash over like this, that can help, and if you're quick enough here, it's going to make a really big difference because the defense is going to instantly get stronger when the AWP is on the side. If you just rotate really quickly to the side that it is, you're going to have a really good advantage because you might get very crucial kills if you rotate early. But that still doesn't mean that you have to over rotate, you have to have some kind of good info. Like, you're not going to instantly rotate if there is one guy ups, let's say. You're going to stay a little bit more, see if there is any other info, and you're going to make a decision on if you want to rotate or not based on all of the information that you get. Now let's quickly talk about setups with teammates, because this is something that can be very helpful and that can win you rounds. So let's say the enemies like to go A a lot, and either your A anchor or you can offer this. You can do some kind of a setup. Let's say you both get close to ramp and you hold an angle like this, and here with his rifle is going to hold an angle like this to power, so maybe he rushes for a bit, stands up again, he's going to hold that angle. Or you can have a setup where you're going to hold from ticket to ramp and he's going to be on top of the balcony like this or something, just holding powers. You can have multiple different setups. You can have setups on B, you can have setups on A, setups on connector, on short, whatever you want. But do setups with your teammates because it's going to help you win rounds, and it's going to be sometimes very unexpected for the enemies. Now let's start talking about this side. On this side, the first point is going to be again, you have to be able to play with the AK, with the Galil, maybe even with the Mark 10, because you're not going to have the AWP all the time, and if you are a really strong rifler, it's going to be a huge benefit to your team, because let's say you're really good at trade fragging, so your team just puts you in a place where you can go after the enter fragger on the ramp, and you can just get 2 or 3 kills when you go into A, and you can play a great after plant and all the things like this. So if you're a great rifler, it's going to be a huge benefit to your team as well. So now let's go up specific. Again, you have to go for openings, you have to go for a place, because your gun is very strong in that. So you have to go for some kind of peaks, or even on this side you can go for some kind of holds. So let's say you hold connector like this, or you peek window and you hold for a little bit. If the guy peeks, then you get the kill. You can go for some kind of a peek towards B to kill the guy who is jump spotting or whatever. You can go for some kind of a peek on the ramp to kill the guy who is going to jump over con. Things like this. Again, openings that you have to list, and then when you go into a game and you have a spawn, you look at your list. I can do this, this and this. Okay, let me do this. And you ask your IGL, hey, can I go for a ramp pick? And he says yes, and you go for the ramp pick. If he says no, whatever, you play the round as he said. Something that is going to be very important as an opener, and something that is going to help your team a lot, and is going to be very easy to work around you, is to just hold angles for your teammates during the round. So let's say you took mid and then you just hold window in case somebody tries to regress, and you get the kill easily if they do. Or you hold short, or you hold con. You hold some kind of an angle where the enemies could peek, and you just get the kill when they try to regress. That's going to help a lot. And let's say during K execute, sometimes you're not going to be able to smoke something off. Or even if you are able to smoke something off. Let's say you smoke jungle, but sometimes, as we all know, the enemies like to push the jungle smoke. So what you can do is just hold it with the AWP, and whenever they try to go for that, you kill them. Or if you don't have a city smoke, you can just hold city for your teammates in some way. Whatever angle is, the best for the context, you play on that angle and you hold. So basically on this side, you want to punish the enemy aggression a lot, and that's going to be, the AWP is going to be really strong at that, because you just take an angle and nobody can go to that angle. And that's going to help your team a lot when you are playing this side. During executes, during mid rounds, during whatever it is, if you can hold off the enemy aggression and just get kills in that way, that's going to help your team a lot. Something that you should consider as an opener is that sometimes on this side, let's say you are 4 people alive and you have 3 rifles that are going to go towards ramp. It would be reasonable if you're the one throwing the utility sometimes. So let's say you throw some kind of a smoke and then you flash out your teammates. It's going to be more reasonable that you do this, because you're the player who's going to have to hold the long range angles anyway, and your teammates with rifles are going to be way better at entering the site and clearing angles and trading each other, because you cannot enter with an AWP. I mean, you can, but it's going to be very difficult, and if you miss your shot, you're dead 100%. And it can be also difficult to trade frag, because let's say you kill one guy, but then somebody picks from jungle, and you cannot shoot and then instantly shoot. You have to wait for your, basically to pull the lever of the AWP so that you can shoot again. So you're not going to be as good when you're going in first or second or maybe even third. So sometimes it's going to be the most reasonable thing that you're going to be throwing the grenades and you're going to play from further back. So you have to consider that. Now let's talk about how to improve with the AWP. This is something that is going to be very important, obviously, because if you're not individually improving, you're not going to stay in a team for a while. If you keep the same level, which is, let's say, average, and you're just average every game, your teammates are not going to like this, and they're going to look for some opener who is better than you, who can go for plays, who can give them advantages very often, who is really good mechanically. And it's very important as an opener to be really good mechanically, because you can provide such huge impact if you're good mechanically. You can get openings, you can get clutches, you can do almost anything with an AWP. It is extremely strong if you are really good with it. That's the thing about the AWP. People think the AWP is overpowered, but it's not overpowered. It's overpowered for people who know exactly how to use it and who are really mechanically talented or skilled in general. So some things that you can do to practice with AWP is obviously play deathmatch. That's going to be one of the most efficient ways probably. So you have to play that much, you have to play that much, let's say 5 days per week or something like this, for maybe half an hour to 1 hour per day, and you have to stay consistent with it. Do it 5 days every single week. Don't skip days, don't say that you're tired, don't say that today you don't feel like playing that much. You have to grind. If you don't grind, there is no way you're going to improve. If you don't put in the work, how do you expect to improve? So you have to put in the work, you have to play that much. There are multiple workshop maps that can help you. There are maps like aimbots, there are maps like fast aim reflex, there are a lot of maps that you can basically improve your flicks, or you can improve your tracking. There are a lot of workshop maps that you can research, so you can just right now after watching this video go on Google and go on YouTube and just search for workshop maps to practice AWPing or something like that, and you're going to get multiple maps that are going to be very helpful. So you have to make a routine for yourself and stick to that routine at least 5 days per week, and that routine has to be in between half an hour or 1 hour, and that's going to be the optimal time. If you want to do it longer and you think it helps you improve more when you do it for longer, go ahead and do that. That's great, but make sure that you can stay consistent to it, not that you do it for 2 hours one day and then you skip 3 days and then you do it again. Be consistent with it. That's the most important part about routines. You have to stay consistent. Something that is also very important is to practice with the rifles. Don't practice only with the AWP. You want to practice with the AK, maybe even the M4. You want to practice with the Glock and the USP, maybe with the dual Berettas if you get dual Berettas on some rounds, on pistol rounds on city side. You need to be able to play with every gun, because you're not going to always have the AWP, as I already said twice. You're not always going to have the AWP, so you need to be able to play with other guns and be mechanically skilled with other guns as well. That's why it's a tough job for the AWPer, because he needs to practice with everything. Your interfarer is going to need to be good with the AK and the M4, but he will not need to be good with the AWP. And you need to be good with the M4, the AK and the AWP. So you have more work to do, but that also gives you the ability to be more impactful, because you can use whatever gun you think is strongest in the situation and you can provide the most impact possible. Another thing that is going to be great for improving as an AWPer is watching demos from professional AWPers. From them you're going to see a lot of opening picks, you're going to see a lot of tricks that you can get a kill with, you're going to see rotations, you're going to see good positions, you can see a lot of utility usage. So that's going to be very helpful, and you need to watch demos as an AWPer, and you're going to learn a lot from it, and you're going to become a much better player when you do that. So if you enjoyed the video, or if this video helped you become a better AWPer, you can leave a like and you can subscribe to my channel to not miss out on any upcoming content. Thank you for watching.